And now it's time for us to head into a very interesting and informative discussion on development for Sri Lanka. So we have with us a seasoned expert in the global apparel and footwear supply chains with over 20 years of experience in Asia, Africa, and also the Middle East and North Africa regions. So he's currently overseeing the Better Work Sri Lanka program and focuses on achieving scale and sustainability through engagement with national constituents. So his extensive background in occupational safety and health, purchasing practices, and capacity building underpins his leadership in enhancing workplace conditions and productivity within the industry. And he is also the head of Better Work Sri Lanka. We have with us Mr. Kesava Murali Kanapathy. Very good morning to you.
Hello, Sherry. Good morning. Thanks for having me here.
Well, glad to have you here with us. So initially, Murali will talk about yourself. So while we were off air, we were discussing about how you've been away from Sri Lanka for a very long time. So tell us a bit more about yourself.
Yeah. So, thanks for having me. I've been away for some time. I'm coming back to Sri Lanka after almost 15 years.
That's a long call.
That's right. So, been globe-trotting, and most of my work outside Sri Lanka has been linked to development, as well as that development is linked to the apparel and footwear industries. So, it has taken me to places. But in context of what I do, what we do, it's good to be contributing to your own country. So I'd say it's a privilege to be back and to support your country when the country needs you more.
Exactly. And coming back to Sri Lanka, so when you left, it was 15 years ago. So many things have changed in that time gap.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the situation right now?
It's challenging, but opportunities also come through challenges. Of course, things have changed over 15 years, but I've not been a stranger to my country. I've traveled here every 3 to 6 months over 15 years. But when you come and live here, you're actually reintegrating back to your own society because your world lens has changed. How you do things, how you look at what you expect all changes. So it's an experience on its own.
Exactly. So also we did mention about Better Work as well. So tell us a bit more about the background of the Better Work program of the International Labour Organization.
Yeah. So Better Work program is a unique partnership. The partnership of International Labour Organization of the United Nations and International Finance Corporation of the World Bank Group. So that partnership is quite unique. We bring the labour world and the business world together. So how do you create decent working conditions, but at the same time, how do you make the businesses more competitive?
So this is also with regards to occupational safety and health concerns at work, is it?
Occupational safety and health is one component of our work. And we have many areas under our strategic pillars. So occupational safety health is one. The other one is on gender. Gender is quite a big pillar for us. And even in Sri Lanka, we focus on that aspect quite a lot. Then the last one is on micro, small, medium enterprise. If I may explain a little bit more on that. So occupational safety health, when we identify this as a strategic area of influence in Sri Lanka, it was not a surprise because we were coming out of COVID. And at the same time, workplaces were struggling to continue businesses. So constituents did understand what is a priority, and they identified this to be a key pillar. When it comes to the gender component, the Sri Lankan population, 52% are females. But at the same time, when it comes to the corporate ladders, it's men.
Exactly, so there's no balance.
Yeah, so political leadership is mostly men. So through our project, through our programs, as ILO, as IFC, we also want to empower women. And we want to give them the skill sets, and most importantly, we want to create the enabling environment for women to come forward. So we have this strategic work under the gender pillar. It's called GEAR, Gender Equality and Returns, where we groom, develop female machine operators to become supervisors on one hand, and then female supervisors to become middle managers.
So this is like upgrading them, upscaling their positions.
Upgrading, upscaling, and also showing them there is another way to do stuff, and you are no different to a man when it comes to power. It's about confidence.
Right. Yeah. So that's very inspiring as well, Murali. And also let's talk about the launch of Better Work in Sri Lanka. Why Sri Lanka? Why now? That's the theme, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's a good one. when we launched it, we had that unique theme, why Sri Lanka, why now? Because when you look at the Better Work program globally, Sri Lanka was not even a priority country because the apparel industry in Sri Lanka always prides itself to be one step ahead of the competition when you look at all supply chains around the world. So then the business case for us to come to Sri Lanka, we didn't want to come here. But then again, with all the economic crisis, the political crisis, then the post-pandemic, post-CIS attack, all the issues, Sri Lanka wanted to make sure the apparel sector didn't go away. GSP Plus was a problem. So the competitiveness was a problem. So all that was an issue. And with that, we wanted to see how we can support. So we are funded by the European Union through the European Commission. And at that time, the GSP Plus review was going on. So even the European Commission spoke to us and wanted us to support the sector to make sure the sector is competitive and also relevant. So why Sri Lanka, why now has many connotations to it. But I think it was the right time to be here to support the sector, support the people, support the trade.
Exactly. So we'll be continuing with the discussion and talk more about better work. But before that, we're going to break in for some music.
Kakuluso, the right combination of many Ayurvedic medicines. Ideal for tender skins of babies. Let's protect our kids from all germs. The only solution, Ayurvedic. Kakuluso. Kakuluso, a proud product of Siddhalepa.
You're listening to Radio Sri Lanka, and yes, we are with Mr. Kesava Murali speaking on better work and the work better work is intending to do towards the development of the country. But before we get into the better work campaigns or how better work is working globally, we did speak about the apparel sector, didn't we? And you've been in the apparel sector for a very long time as well. So apparel is something really important for Sri Lanka because we depend on exports and depend on a lot of labor work goes from Sri Lanka globally. So let's also touch on the apparel sector.
Yeah, very good question, Sherry. Apparel sector is quite important, as you rightly said, in many ways. On one side, it employs around 350,000 direct employees, and another maybe 750,000 depend on this sector, so that's quite big. And apparel sector workers by themselves, mostly women, 70% are women, they also are entrepreneurs on their own right. They go and invest back, maybe a boutique shop, they might have a toque, they might have a tailoring shop, so they employ others. So it propels a microeconomic activity, so that's important on one side. On the other side, we also saw during the financial crisis how the apparel sector became a bloodline to bring the required foreign currency to the country. So more or less, the sector contributes to 45% of the total merchandise export from this country. And then all the dependent sectors, like from logistics to shipping to food caterers, trim suppliers, it creates an ecosystem. So you're right, it's a very important sector for the country in terms of employment, in terms of trade, and also it's linked to some of the bilateral agreements. So it's important in many ways.
Exactly. So let's also come back to Better Work. And can you also briefly describe the outcomes of Better Work program and the impact the program is creating globally?
Yeah. So Better Work, as I said, is a unique partnership between the International Labour Organization and the International Finance Corporation. And we are in 13 countries, including Sri Lanka. We are in almost 2,500 manufacturers in these countries. And then we have around 3 million workers who are directly employed across these 2,500 factories. Then there are about 150 international brands and retailers who also are having partnerships or engaged with Better Work globally. So you can see, if you look at the apparel export countries that we are in, it helps elevate poverty, it helps improve bilateral trade, and also it influences policy changes.
And also, if I'm not mistaken, so when it comes to the apparel sector in Sri Lanka, we see many women involved, as you did mention, but we see them not on the highest rank, but probably at garment level. So what do you intend to do in terms of building confidence in them and showing them that they're really contributing towards the economy in a big way?
Yeah, good question. So if you take a step back and look at the why, I think it's cultural. Sri Lanka is a more masculine society. We have a proud history of more than 2,500 years, but it's always masculine. So the woman's role was different in society historically. So there's a stigma. But on the other side, if you look at the graduates who come out of the university, it's mostly women.
Exactly.
So there's a mismatch. So is it the opportunities, is it the courage, is it the confidence, or is it the enabling environment? So it's a mix of everything. So for us, even in our own way, if you look at the apparel sector, the reason we wanted to focus on the gear program is to create that opportunity for the women, but also to showcase what is the role of the man who can be in the same company, who can be same in part of your ecosystems. And then you create career pathways. You can coach and train anyone, but the pathway is different. Then the confidence building is another one. Then through the pathways, you create opportunities. And the moment you're there, promoted to these new management or leadership positions, you need to also have the support networks. It's not just empowering someone. The power in the wrong place would be not a good one. But if you give the power in the right place and you create that ecosystem, then they become better leaders. Better Work has proven data from around the world. When a woman is in leadership positions, the working environment is much better, the worker turnover is much lower, profitability is higher, and the workers are much more happier. So there's a business case as well.
There is. And what has your experience been with the requirement of management workers for this area of intervention on mental health? Because you've been talking about the norms and about culture and how people have accepted things in a certain way, but this affects the mental health of people as well. So how can we accommodate providing the best advice or maybe solution or counseling for people who are affected by this?
Yeah. So I mean, you just asked me about the female empowerment part. So if you really look at that, even an empowered woman might go through a lot of pressure, societal pressure on one side, but also are the families ready? Are the corporates ready? That's one angle to it. But if you really look at the workforce, if you look at the broader population, Sri Lanka had multiple tragedies back to back. 2019 there was a big incident, unfortunate. Then we were hit by the pandemic, and then we had the political crisis linked with the economic crisis. So all this impacts people. It's how we absorb pressure, how we deal with it, and what about the well-being part. Sri Lankans are resilient. We have seen that over and over again, but that doesn't mean we are doing justice to ourselves if we don't address it. Unfortunately, when it comes to mental health, the connotations, the words in English, in Sinhala and Tamil are not the right. Either you say Pissu or Paithyam.
Right, exactly.
So it creates stigma. Like if you go to a psychiatrist, if you go to a counselor, people take it in a negative way. So we need to break the stigma.
I think now with social media and with people getting exposed to the world outside very easily, I think there are many campaigns going on with regards to educating people, but then there are people living in the rural areas. There are people who don't have enough awareness with regards to how they could get the information as well. Yeah. So does Better Work intend to do something for people like that?
Yeah. So the reason we launched this mental health well-being campaign is to address multiple areas under the mental health topic. One is to break the stigma, as I mentioned. So stigma cannot be broken by one or the other. You need to hammer the story over and over again. You need to put that into people's heads, what it is.
So literally to rub it in.
Rub it in, yeah. But also to say this is not a sickness. This is not a big issue. If you need help, go and seek help. So the whole campaign around mental health was Oya Tanine, you're not alone. Ningal Tanichille. Right? So we want to put that message across to people. And how did we take the message out? The best part is Sri Lankan people love drama. They like theatre. So we had a street drama crew, one crew for Sinhalese, one crew for Tamil. And we created that awareness through hype. So the drama was built in such a way, people like this comedy, but end of the comedy it's about you seeking help if you need it. There is no magic wand for that. So we have done this in various parts of the country, and we will continue to promote those. Then we have created human impact stories. Then we are doing radio shows. We are doing TV interviews. There will be print media. We are using influencers to boost the message. There are magazines. So continuously we want to hit the message. But most importantly, we want to create a network of counselors who are available, who are accessible, and people should be able to contact them anytime. So for that, we are also partnering with the Board of Investment, because it's not just about apparel industry, it can be any sector.
Exactly.
And exports are important. We need to create that enabling environment for the investors and for the workers. So we are partnering with Board of Investment on one side, then not forgetting the role of Joint Apparel Association Forum, JAF. JAF has played a major role along with the Employees Federation of Ceylon, and then the workers movement, the unions also have a role. What has the unions done? So we are partnering with various stakeholders, including the government, and ultimately the state has a responsibility too. But so far, it has been very positive, overwhelming positivity. Everyone has come forward, including the Narcotics Bureau has come forward, the Sri Lanka Police has come forward, then the Ministry of Labour, Ministry of Health. So everyone is there because everyone recognizes how this impacts society. Ultimately, it impacts the country.
Exactly, because people of the country are important.
Yeah. So we need to address that, and I would say everyone needs to look into own well-being and the well-being of others, but also to understand it's not about undergoing pressure, it's about how you deal with pressure.
Yes, not like everybody is free from pressure and everyone's, as you said, nigatanichile, right? Like you're not alone. So everyone's going through something. You might look normal on the outside, but there'll be many things happening inside. So we need to understand that and maybe have a better approach to kind of get counseling and make the system a bit comfortable for people, isn't it?
Sometimes the strongest are the weakest, they say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with that, I guess it's time for us to wind things up as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Kesava Murali, for giving us a very detailed idea as to what Better Work has in store for Sri Lanka. It looks very promising, and I'm pretty sure you'll do an amazing job here. And although you're back after 15 years, welcome home.
Thank you, Sherry. Thanks for having me here. And I want to share a message with all the listeners. Not only on mental health, let's do our part to make this country a better place, and at the same time, you're not alone.
Exactly. Thank you so much once again for being a part of Coffee Up, and it's time for me to say bye-bye as well. Darshan will be taking over, and I think handing things over to Soundi, who's already here. So thank you so much once again, and bye-bye from me.